It was a roller coaster. It was wild, it was fanciful, and it was chaotic. This was how Brown Mogotsi entered, and it was an illustration of what was to come. What an introduction to South Africa. Why did he look like he strolled in from a beach on Havana? Sunglasses, open shirt. Whew. Looking around as if to say, I'm here, South Africa. Every South African meme creator had their prayers answered today as Brown Mogotsi, someone who General Mkwanazi called out in his July 6th press conference, finally took the stand and broke his silence at the Madlanga Commission. You know, it feels like South Africans are now starting to watch these commissions like they are a national soccer match or something. There are shocking moments, there are penalty calls, there are things that will anger you, but we are all collectively going through the gasps and yes, sometimes the laughs together. And of course, today's testimony by Brown Mogotsi was one of the key moments in this Mkwanazi saga. My goodness, where do we even begin with this testimony? First thing I would say, plot twist from the jump. Brown Mogotsi's like, hello, I'm Brown Mogotsi. I was an MK operative in South Africa and I'm a police informant. I'm a crime intelligence informant. Which completely reshapes the whole narrative. Now, of course, I'm not saying what he's saying is necessarily true, but what Brown Mogotsi has come to the commission to say is, General Mkwanazi said I was sending all these messages intermediating between crime syndicates and politicians, telling Cat Matlala, yes, I'll help you with the minister, and telling the minister, don't worry, let's meet, I can sort things out, even telling General Mkwanazi certain things, the minister's going to be here at this date, at this time. So Mkwanazi was like, who is this person who gets to just tell all these people and get access to all this secret information? Brown Mogotsi comes and says, yes, my cover has been blown. I am actually an informer for crime intelligence. I work for them. So what is he really saying in a nutshell? He's saying he was trying to penetrate the criminal syndicate by getting closer to them so that he could get information about the syndicate to give back to crime intelligence. Now, there are reasons to doubt this narrative, but first I'm just trying to help you along with his testimony today. So, he said effectively that he is an agent for crime intelligence. He gives them information for a fee, bringing new meaning to the term brown envelope. And that's just where the fun began today, because the roller coaster took another dip and there were more claims of being an agent. But this time, he told us that it's not Brown Mogotsi who's just the agent. He says and alleges that General Mkwanazi is a CIA agent, along with Zulu King Misuzulu. Yeah, if you're just catching up, whew, it was lit. By the way, shout out to all of you who are following live. Like, share, comment down below. It's always great to have the live fam with us today. What did you think of what happened today? So, I mean, Mogotsi, before we get into these CIA agent claims, he really went to the 6th of July and said that it was a bombshell moment that really rocked the entire police when General Khumalo, the head of crime intelligence, was arrested. So I want you to take a look at this clip because I'm going to come back and reveal what I think could be something of, if I don't call it a contradiction, at least an ambiguity right now. Have a look at this.
Agent, you interact with your handler and your informants. You're investigating so many cases, according to you. Do you keep a diary where you record this information? and the dates and who you met and what information they gave you? Where do you record all this information?
As an agent, you are required at all times to make notes and whatever and give to your handler who keeps your file. Your file is kept by your handler.
So you
cannot have a diary of anything of that sort, which if it becomes accessible to anyone, you will definitely be attacked.
So details relating to this trip to Kenya, all that information, you've already given it to your handler?
That's correct.
You no longer have the notes with you?
Yeah, but there was nothing written in Kenya. We only conversed as we do. And I came to tell him, and then we noted in the file, and we kept the file. That's correct.
I'm assuming that when you had to go to Kenya, you needed to go to a certain address at a certain time to meet a certain person who has been described to you? Because you can't just go there and meet anybody. You had to know what the person looks like, where you are going to meet them, at what time. Where did you record all that information?
It's a normal thing. I'm flying at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I arrive in Kenya 5 o'clock, and then he'll tell you, you sit in the restaurant 6 o'clock, you go to outside, there is MTN and Telkom in Kenya. You then, either you buy airtime, but in the airport there is Wi-Fi. To say I've arrived, and he tell you I'm wearing blue jacket, I'm outside, you go and meet him, and then you drive, go somewhere, from there you come back.
So that will be in your WhatsApp then, it won't be in a notebook?
No, you can't write that. You talk to him over the phone. Yes.
Okay.
So that was Mogotsi explaining what it's like to be an informant, and he was asked, did he keep a diary of some of these things that he was doing? He didn't seem to be able to have that particular information. But I also want to take you to this suggestion that Khumalo's arrest was a turning point in the police. Have a look at this.
You get that a person tasked will say, I have it. Now, for me here to say, I have it, I'll not be telling the truth. I hope if he's watching, he'll just call me and say, hey, I have it. But from the person, for 4 days, we placed the network to monitor the movement before this press conference. And even I don't want to go into the content of the press conference and leave the script, but I hope the stage will come for one to elaborate the investigation around this July 6 press conference.
You say that you contemplated the genuine possibility that General Mkwanazi might announce his resignation at the press briefing.
Yes.
Why did you contemplate that?
You see, the arrest of General Khumalo was a breaking point. It almost changed the South African police service. Everything changed. That's why we are here. That's why I'm able to say there is intelligence report in 2018. I know of 2019, 2021. There is no such thing as the big five and things they are talking about. General Mkwanazi, he was angered by the arrest of General Khumalo. Even the press conference was only about that, where he said there is a drug cartel. They are using this tactic of misdirection, commissioners, too. Like he say, the PKTT was disbanded because there is a drug cartel which Minister Mtuni wanted to protect. KT Molef, these people were still going to be arrested whether the PKTT was there or not. Now, they just brought a big narrative.
So Khumalo's arrest, according to Mogotsi, set in train a huge earthquake within the police, but also coming right out and gunning for Mkwanazi by saying that all of this talk of the Big Five doesn't exist. Some of these people were going to be arrested anyway. So look, already it seems to me as if some cracks are beginning to emerge in the testimony, because on the one hand, you say that Katiso Molefe and Mulife and Cat Matlala are going to be arrested anyway, but then you say there's no such thing as the Big Five. So are we suggesting that these two individuals are not linked by some kind of broader structure? Why would they be arrested if there is no Big Five, when we already know that the Big Five contains these two people? So that is at least an ambiguity that needs to be cleared up. It's quite shocking to allege that Mkwanazi is a CIA agent and that King Misuzulu is also is a CIA agent as well and has some links. And here's the difference between this testimony so far and some of the equally perhaps shocking things that we heard from General Khumalo and Mkwanazi. This is just hearsay so far. Like, we haven't seen CCTV footage. We haven't seen WhatsApp messages. We don't even necessarily have the circumstantial evidence. We don't have correspondence. We just have Brown Mogotsi's word right now. And actually, it's not even necessarily Brown Mogotsi's word. It's Brown Mogotsi telling us that someone told him, that someone told them that this thing is true. And so until any of this is corroborated, it has to be taken with a huge grain of salt, because if you want to come to the Madlanga Commission and turn the tables, you have to bring turn-tabling evidence and table-turning evidence. And so far we haven't got that. So it is a way of casting aspersions over these people and calling their integrity into doubt and their intentions into doubt. But right now, without any further evidence to corroborate, it would be irresponsible to even begin to accept some of these claims. We also heard some crazy stuff about Richards Bay, which keeps popping up. Richards Bay is a place where there were police deployments. There have been these mysterious murders. And we heard that there was, Brown Mogotsi's narrative was, when South Africa took Israel to the ICJ, there was concern that coal that's exported to Israel would be somehow stopped. It wasn't clear exactly how it would be stopped at Richards Bay, and that's why police were sent there. Again, it's still very murky, and it's not obvious what kind of evidentiary links there are to any of those speculations. And Mogotsi further suggested that there had been an attempt within the Zulu house and the Zulu battle for royal succession for Mkwanazi to play some kind of role in that battle, supporting King Misuzulu against Prince Simagade, who's one of the people contesting King Misuzulu's legitimacy on the throne, and suggesting that there had been operations to frustrate people linked to Prince Simagade as he was vying to be seen as the legitimate Zulu regent. Again, right now, nothing much to corroborate. In fact, all of those claims of where is the evidence, I think this is a day when we should be asking further questions about the evidence. And I would also say that we'll get to test the veracity of these claims during his cross-examination, because I believe that evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson is going to be doing cross-examination when we're done with the leading of the evidence in chief today. So today was a chance for Brown Mogotsi to tell his side of the story, and then he will be in some ways cross-questioned later on. So that was the agent's claims. Let's move on to some of the Cat Matlala stuff, because it was wild. Firstly, Brown Mogotsi claimed that he had got an Uber driver to follow Matlala when he landed in Durban, and this Uber driver, who he paid 1,000 rand. Why is it always Uber drivers, by the way? Mkwanazi also said you don't know who's driving you when you're driving an Uber. It could be some informant or something. So this has popped up a number of times. But Mogotsi basically said he got this Uber driver to follow Matlala, and Matlala went to Mkwanazi's house. Again, we don't have CCTV footage, we don't have any evidence to further back that up, but he said the two had met. If true, obviously it would completely contradict Mkwanazi's testimony, but we can't accept that quite yet. He also said that former police minister Bheki Cele knew Cat Matlala and actually had an interest in Medicare 24, this company that was in a tender with the police, but it was eventually cancelled, and effectively contradicted Cele's testimony that he didn't know Matlala except for this meeting they had in Durban around the time when Matlala was trying to iron things out with the tender. He actually even alleged that Police Chief Fani Masemola got money, Bheki Cele got money, and again, uncorroborated so far, but there was some Brown Mogotsi, if singing like a canary was a person, we just don't know if the canary is singing in the direction of truth or falsehood. Furthermore, you may have heard that at a time earlier, a couple of years ago, there was this huge outcry about criminal activity and this gang that had named itself over after Boko Haram, the Islamic militant group that kidnapped people in Nigeria and things. And you may remember hearing about Boko Haram and them kind of having their own reign of terror in Mamelodi, I believe it was. And then all of a sudden, this person came out of nowhere who became known as John Wick and actually started terrorizing the terrorists. South Africa. South Africa, why are you this movie? And so this person ended up killing the terrorists and things like that, and these criminals, and got named John Wick. It was like this nom de guerre, this legendary name for this person. Well, Brown Mogotsi today told us that this John Wick, who rose from the shadows to suppress Boko Haram, is apparently Cat Matlala. That's what he says. Cat Matlala is such an interesting figure in all of this. I cannot wait, and I think it is so pivotal that we hear Cat Matlala's voice in all of this, that we hear his side of the story. He just seems like, of course, someone who is to be feared, has a very intimidating persona and presence, and if 5% of what is said about him is true, he can be a terrifying figure, but also someone who seems to have a fascinating backstory. Who is Cat Matlala? We're hearing he's John Wick. We're hearing he's part of this cartel. We're hearing he can influence ministers. He's getting these tenders. How did he engineer all of this? And what is his side? Does he feel like he was being used by politicians? Was he thrown under the bus by politicians? Was he promised things by politicians that they couldn't deliver to him after he had delivered money to them? These are all the questions we have. And I have for Cat Matlala. So Mogotsi also said that he could be John Wick. But as I say, as colorful and as flamboyant as this testimony was, I'm afraid so far it didn't have the necessary evidentiary backup to make it truly credible at this point. And there were contradictions which even in these early stages began to emerge. And have a look at Matthew Chaskelson. Here it felt like he was channeling his father, Arthur Chaskelson, who apparently was a devastating cross-examiner. And here he does this thing where he just asks the same question and waits until he gets a true answer. And if you don't get a true answer when you keep asking the same question, it suggests that the person is trying to avoid the question. Have a look at this to see how Mogotsi was kind of trying to wriggle out of this particular question.
Of the funding is also in Johannesburg from Tuesday. So guy the funding brackets 20 is also in Joburg from Tuesday. He is the one I said has a 3 billion contract with SAPS. Who are you referring to there?
Oh, this other guy, and there's no one who has 3 billion. It was a mistake. It's not 3 billion contract with SAPS.
But who are you referring to, and what is the value of that contract?
The contract was about 30 million contract with SAPS.
30 million, not 3 billion.
No, not 3 billion.
But who is the guy?
Yeah. And that guy, I thought we could also use him for the same program. That's charity organization. I was going to combine them and have one program.
Sorry, but who is he?
Oh, Josias. His name was Josias.
Sorry, can you?
Josias.
Josias.
Yeah.
Josias, is that his first name, his surname?
I can't remember his name. We were just interacting, and he said he had a contract with SAPS for 30 million, and the same applies to him. We ended up not meeting with that.
But this angle of the commissioners is the one. Like, the commissioners are always just looking concerned, but their advocate, Baloyi SC, was just like, how did it take nearly 2 minutes to answer a single question about who is this person? And again, it seems like Mogotsi is trying to avoid the fact that WhatsApp was linked to the Matlala tender. That's what it seems to be. Now he's saying it's about a whole other thing. By the way, the numbers are wrong either way, because it wasn't a 3 billion tender or a 30 million tender. It was a 300 million tender. So Mogotsi seems to be saying, no, I meant a 30 million thing for someone else, when it looked like he was in the WhatsApp saying it was a 3 billion tender for Matlala. So as you can see from there, it looked as if he was being borderline evasive on very basic questions, factual questions. However, what I will say is that, let me not use this analogy, but let me say even a bad archer sometimes hits the target. Let me rather say that, right? And what I think is the interesting question, which is going to take a bit more time to untangle, and which I may untangle later in the week, is what Mogotsi said is true, if anything. Because there may still be kernels of truth that we need to figure out. And here's the key question. Brown Mogotsi is lying to someone. He's either lying to Cat Matlala about just being someone who can help him politically within the ANC and with Senzo Mchunu, or he's lying to South Africa and the Commission about being an informer. It can't be both. So which one is the real truth? Is Brown Mogotsi actually an informer who is trying to lead Cat Matlala along, or is he this political intermediary who is trying to help Matlala with tenders? Which also causes me to think, what about all those messages asking for money from Cat Matlala? If he was an informer, shouldn't he be getting money from crime intelligence? Or was he getting money from both sides? Is he none of these and all of these? Is he an informer and an intermediary who was peddling information from criminal syndicates to the state and from the state to criminal syndicates? Maybe that's the real story here, that Brown Mogotsi was everything to all people and the person who benefited from it all at once until it all came crumbling down. Gogo Aubrey Machikwi made an interesting point, and he, by the way, was one of the first people in one of our interviews who said, what if Brown Mogotsi is an informer for crime intelligence? But he made another interesting point, which is, why would someone in crime intelligence know anything about foreign agents? Because crime intelligence is about domestic intelligence. So is Brown Mogotsi also getting information from the State Security Agency, Because that's really, we're talking about foreign intelligence here. We're not even talking about domestic intelligence. Who's a CIA agent and who isn't is a foreign intelligence question. So why are crime intelligence informers privy to this information? Or is Brown Mogotsi some kind of agent hopping between state security, foreign intelligence, crime intelligence, etc.? So there are a lot of unanswered questions which linger in the air. But today we took one step further in the Mkwanazi saga. We finally heard the voice of Brown Mogotsi. I hope that we'll hear a bit more about political intermediation, because right now he's kind of keeping it all at arm's length, saying he doesn't know Mkhunu. He never really interacted with him. Those screenshots of Mkhunu on his phone were just him talking to himself, and he created a special profile which he took screenshots of. Doesn't add up, because we just had Nkabinde in Parliament the other day saying there was a meeting between Mkhunu and Brown Mogotsi at the official minister's residence. Someone, if not everyone, is lying here. And we need to get to the truth. Fam, like, share, subscribe. We are coming to you a little late tonight because we've just shot another fascinating interview for SMWX, so keep a lookout for that. Interviews dropping tomorrow, the live streams are pumping, and the live analysis will continue to come your way. I want to give a shout out to everyone who is watching live. I'm going to give shout outs in the live chat right now. TCZA, shout out. Keegan, shout out. Vusi, shout out. Sbongile, shout out. Noxi, Bongiwe, shout out. Okay, let me be careful, because just now I'm going to read a funny name, and that could go very wrong. So shout out to all of you who are watching in the comments. Hello, nice to see you. And thank you to everyone who's helping SMWX get to our next milestone of 400,000 subscribers. Have you subscribed? If you haven't subscribed, it's because your handlers have prevented you from subscribing. Please make sure that your handlers are not preventing you from subscribing. Because if you are not subscribed to this channel, then you could be a CIA agent. In fact, I will go to the Madlanga Commission and I will declare you a CIA agent if you have not liked, shared, and subscribed. See you on the next one, fam. Keep it locked on SMWX. Aye.